Hi friends, it's Judi Love Bowman. Welcome back to another episode of Drjudionline. And as promised, I will be teaching from the P15 Pass Book, America's Passport for Unity. I'm not on here to sell books. I'm on here to help us fix the crack. Unless we stop the crack, we will rebuild the wall. And I'm not talking about a wall on the border. I'm talking about an archetypal wall that we need to build. It was based on an African proverb. It says, unless we stop the crack, we will rebuild the wall. I just want to read to you from this book, the P15 Pass Book, America's Passport for Unity, which I wrote in 2015. 50 years ago after Selma, the most challenging issue of the modern-day civil rights movement is race. William Julius Wilson argued about the declining significance of race decades ago. At the same time, if racism were to be wiped off the face of the earth tomorrow, there are certain pathologies which linger from slavery, discrimination, and lack of reparations, including welfare dependence, drug addiction, black-on-black crime, police brutality, mass incarceration, racial profiling, substandard health and educative services, single parenthood, and others, some of which Marian Wright Edelman outlines in her book, Families in Peril. These pathologies, in part, continue to cause a gap in the level of humanity and expectations for a civilized existence that Black people in America have never consistently known. Yes, a few Blacks make it individually, but collectively we have work to do. America needs to urgently change policies and have laws related to the criminal justice system, police killings, racial profiling, and voting laws. In addition to policy changes, America needs to change hearts and values. Each of us has free will to determine our own goals, values, expectations, diligence, character, and work ethic. Yes, the system needs to change drastically in some areas. At the same time, P15 is personal. It begins with the individual. It begins with you. And it begins with me. You and I have things we need to work on as well. We can all do better individually and collectively. So that more than 15 years after Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, we can literally and figuratively say, free at last. I will read some reviews maybe later about the P15 Pass Book. I'm just thankful for it. My husband and son wrote reviews, and some pastors. I'm thankful for their encouragement of the ministry. Nikki Giovanni, who was called the poet of the Black Revolution and who is one of my mentors, wrote, Judi Love and her courageous fellow students at Hampton recognized the wrong of apartheid, and they decided to lift their voices against evil. Now we have this wonderful book, P15 Pass Book, leading us on a way to freedom here in our nation and freedom within ourselves, teaching us to love. What a wonderful experience. And that's what this book, it says the P15 Pass Book, America's Passport for Unity, by Judi Love Bowman for the More Love Movement. I started the More Love Movement in 1999, and the goal of the More Love Movement is to bring unity, order, faith, justice, peace, and equality. Thank you, Lord. After the acknowledgments, I have the table of contents. Now I will read to you from the preface of the P15 Pass Book. P15, or Project 15, is a personal action plan and a cornerstone of the More Love Movement. Founded in Virginia in 1999, the More Love Movement has included television, radio, and web outreaches. God is love. We are created in God's image, so we are love. Virginia's theme is Virginia is for lovers. America is for lovers. The More Love movement is a national movement based in 6 simple themes: unity, order, faith, justice, peace, and equality. In South Africa during apartheid, blacks were required to carry a pass book if they traveled outside their homelands. Pass laws were a type of internal passport system that was designed to segregate the population. Pass laws were one of the dominant features of South Africa's apartheid system until it was dismantled in 1986. Many Americans, including my classmates from Hampton University and I, joined in the fight to end apartheid by protesting for divestment and disinvestment in American companies conducting business in or with South African and Southern African countries, with South Africa and Southern Africa. It grieves me to report that in South Africa today, many of the black police officers are terrorizing and killing white South Africans, which, juxtaposed with the police officers who have terrorized, brutalized, and murdered black Americans, makes the case that this modern day movement is more about good and evil than it is about black and white. Let me read that again. It grieves me to report that in South Africa today, and this book was written in 2015, but it's still relevant today. It grieves me to report that in South Africa today, many of the black police officers are terrorizing and killing white South Africans, which, juxtaposed with the police officers who have terrorized, brutalized, and murdered black Americans, makes the case that the modern day movement is more about good and evil than it is about black and white. Justice is justice no matter the region of the world. As apartheid was a hallmark of South Africa, racism is unfortunately one of the hallmarks of the United States of America. Many jurisdictions no longer use dogs and fire hoses against blacks. At the same time, terrorism against blacks and the barbaric treatment of black and poor people still exists in America. My prayer is that the P15 Pass Book will help heal our land and redirect us. I am not an injustice collector. I am an injustice corrector. Individually and collectively, we can do better. Although I am not aware of any pass books we had to carry in the United States, black people have often been restricted to neighborhoods and segregated from white people by legislation and even railroads. The wrong side of the tracks was originally an epithet. Although the Confederate flag has been removed from the Capitol grounds of South Carolina, courthouses throughout this country contain murals and other fixtures that depict symbols of racism and racial inequality. For example, in Baker County, Florida, upon exiting the metal detector, the first thing a person sees is a mural with racist symbols. Turpentine, which was used for tar and feathering, and trees with low-hanging branches, which were used for lynching, are included in the mural to invoke fear in black people just as it did in the past. If you are fearful, impoverished, hungry, and broken, how can you expect to get justice when those who are doling it out are influenced by skinhead symbols and other symbols of hate? The woodpecker, a skinhead symbol of the South, where I have spent most of my adult life, Florida, Mississippi, and Virginia, is casually displayed in many government buildings on the East Coast and in the South. From the outside looking in and from the inside looking out, America is racist. If we all, black, white, Asian, Latino, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, young, old, male, and female, as a country, are willing to learn and love, we can achieve great things. As a black woman, I have learned that segregation Jim Crow, sexism, ageism, homophobia, xenophobia have historically impacted America and caused disunity at many levels. Freedom begins to erode when we put each other in boxes. We all want the same things in life: unity, order, faith, justice, peace, and equality. I, on behalf of the More Love movement, offer this passport as America's. I, on behalf of the More Love movement, offer this passbook as America's passport for unity, order, faith, justice, peace, and equality. Since the majority of the land and other resources are controlled by white males, we, black people in America, have had to survive and thrive in the midst of racial injustice, economic injustice, and police brutality. Many of those in authority in America have discretion with regard to control of black people in housing, law enforcement, healthcare, and education. At the same time, each of us has discretion with regard to the way we plan, organize, communicate with those in authority, rear our children, and manage our households. With a few exceptions within the realm of politics, land ownership, banking, and entertainment, black people, especially women and children, are relatively invisible and or unvalued and unloved. Although our country has a small number of black people who are corporate executives and entrepreneurs, most affluent black people are involved in the entertainment industry, which includes sports. Entertainment is one of the historical ways for blacks in America to rise above poverty and get out of America's ghettos. In Appendix A, I analyze theories related to race and entertainment. We black people do not carry passbooks in America, but we do carry a history coupled with confirmed biases from around the world, which causes us to have a need for our own passbook for survival and upward mobility. As black people, America has hurt and failed us. The P15 Pass Book is not only a handbook for your personal action plan, it is also a survival guide for you and the next generation. Every black person is not mandated by law to carry the P15 Pass Book, as was the case in South Africa prior to 1986. I offered it as a gift of love and instruction. You may not physically carry it with you. However, it is my prayer that you will carry these 15 principles in your heart and pass them down to the next generation. This segment to be continued. Until then, until next time, my friends, let's continue to stay prayerful, to stay diligent. And just remember, violence doesn't solve anything. We don't need to tear up the very communities that we need and that we live in. And I know as slaves we were beaten and raped. We were taught to be violent. So as you continue your peaceful protests, please be safe. Keep your social distancing. This too shall pass, and I'm looking forward to continuing our tutorials, Dr. Drjudionline, where I'll be sharing with you from the P15 Pass Book, America's Passport for Unity. Because I, as Dr. King, believe that one day we shall overcome. Thank you, and God bless you, my friend.